Let's make a cute 60s styles nightgown. I was inspired to make this nightgown from the Mary Tyler Moore show, as she had a nightgown that was pleated in this very similar way. So I did a bunch of pleats all the way around, as well as basically cutting this off at the knee. And what I wanted it to be like was just a really cute, fun little nightgown that had the pleats at the front all the way around it. And then I did the exact same for the back. So I pleated this very floral kind of sheer fabric and then took a basting stitch to hold that in place. Now when I was pleating this, as you can see, I did about an inch pleat. So there's the one side where it's done, and then what I'm going to be doing is the other side doing the exact same. Now I had to combine all three of those panels together. So I had one at the front and then two in the back. So I just sewed each up the side. Next, I worked on the bodice part of the nightgown. So as you can see, I have it taped out for what I want it to look like, and I'm going to be using the salmon knit that I have and doing the exact same pleated pattern just over and over and over again for the entire top. So I did go ahead and drape this out, and then what I did for the bottom, because it was see-through, I realized I needed to add a lining so that it wasn't completely see-through. So here's the first part of the top of my bodice. I'm just going to be taking 2 stitches to hold that in place, and then that will be going at the top part of this. And then what I need to do is attach all 3 together. So to do that, I'm first going to be attaching that lining for the skirt to this floral fabric up top, just basting straight across there to hold everything in place. Next, I basted the top part of the bodice so that all those pleats would be in place. So this is what it looks like. It looks really cute so far, and this is also just that front panel. I haven't actually started to work on the back yet. That's going to be something I'll need to do. So again, just taking those 2 panels like I did for the lower part of the nightgown, the exact same thing. So now it's basically time to start working on those 2 back panels. So I cut out the pieces that I wanted, and then I started doing that exact same pleated pattern. Then it was just time to baste both the top and the bottom of the pleat. Next, it was time to work on the bodice. So I just basically attached all 3 pieces together so I could have that one full piece. So attaching both the back to the front. Then it was time to work on the straps. I decided I'm going to go with very thin straps to kind of give it that look that the Mary Tyler Moore one had. To do this, what I'm going to be doing is basically with right sides together, taking a seam across the strap of the bodice and then folding it back over so you can't see the raw edge. Next, I'm also going to be adding a hem to both layers of the skirt portion of the nightgown so that you won't be able to see any of the raw edges and there won't be any fraying. So I needed to first, though, cut out my straps as I didn't have them done, and then I also cut out a lining for the bodice so that it would be much easier to do. Once I had all this cut out for the strap with right sides together, folded that over, and I'm just going to take a long seam for both straps. There's going to be 2. Next, I use my favorite little turning tool to turn both of these straps right side out so that I can start to attach them to my bodice. So this is what I wanted them to look like, but to get that effect that I was talking about, I have them right side together for both the bodice, and then I'm basically pinning them so that I'm going to baste along so I can hold them in place. And then I'll be adding the lining on so that you won't actually see any of these seams, and it's going to look really nice. So that's what I'm doing here. So with the right sides together, putting the seams, and then I'm going to take a straight stitch across. As you're going to be able to see, I'm making sure that when I sew this that I'm, one, getting the straps, but then also that I'm not like sewing over the straps where it's getting caught somewhere it shouldn't be. So you're only going to be sewing the edges of it where you did the base stitch, and we're not going to be getting it in any of those other stitches. So this is what it looks like so far. You can see that the straps are on, and then we do have that bodice piece attached with the lining. We're going to have to do some sort of top stitch so you can't see it. And then we also have the bottom that we're going to be having to clean up somehow as well, which I think I'm just going to be folding it under, and then folding under the lining as well, maybe just actually folding it and then kind of hand stitching it closed. And then we just have to attach the bottom of the nightgown itself to the bodice, and it will be complete. One area I haven't talked about yet is the back. As for this, I think I'm just going to be sewing it straight up and then maybe doing some type of closure at the top so you can take it on and off. But first, what I did was I actually, with right sides together, attached that bodice piece to the bottom of the nightgown and then just took a straight seam across. So now we actually have a full nightgown in a way, so what we need to do is start working on closing up the back. So with right sides together, I am just going to pin both sides and then take a seam all the way down for the piece of the lining as well as that floral material so that we will kind of have a closed skirt. So now what you can see here is that I have my lining done for the bodice, and it does cover up very nicely that seam from having to attach the bodice front to the bottom of the dress. And what I'm going to do is just actually hand stitch this with little darts along it so that you won't be able to see it. So as you can tell, our nightgown is really coming along. It is hemmed at the bottom, and then the top is starting to look really good. So now what we have to do is figure out some sort of closure. In addition, I did go ahead and top stitch around the top of the bodice so that the lining wouldn't be as visible, even though you can still sort of see it. So for the closure, what I did was just use a couple hook and eyes and just added them in 2 locations at the top so that it would hold together well. So here where I've added the 2 hook and eye closures, they're not exactly in the center, but it's okay because you can't really see it that much due to the pleating effect. So here's what my nightgown looks like. I really like how it turned out. It kind of has this fun flowy shape, and then it has this nice droop feature, so I think it would actually be really comfortable to wear. And then because of the style and shape of it, I do think that it looks like the one from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So what I'm thinking of doing next is actually a sneak peek, is adding a little shrug to match this. So be sure to stick around for part 2 to see how we do that. But if you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe.